4.2 Characteristics of life. Here is an image of two bacteria and a large whale. So what do a bacterium and a whale have in common? Do they share characteristics with us? All living organisms, from the smallest bacterium to the largest whale, share certain characteristics of life. Without these characteristics, there is no life. Characteristics of life. Look at the duck decoy in the figure below. It looks very similar to a real duck. Of course, real ducks are living things. What about the duck decoy? It looks like a duck, but is actually made of wood, or probably plastic, actually. The decoy duck doesn't have all the characteristics of a living thing. What characteristics set the real ducks apart from the duck decoy? What are the characteristics of living things? To be classified as a living thing, an object must have all 6 of the following characteristics. Now, keep in mind, there are several different ways to remember the characteristics of life, but we're going to go over 2 of them right here. So number 1, all living things, they respond to the environment. Number 2, all living things grow and develop. Number 3, all living things reproduce or produce offspring. Number 4, they maintain homeostasis. Homeostasis is maintaining an internal stable environment. This is you maintaining a internal body temperature, a fairly constant blood sugar level. Lots of ways we maintain homeostasis. Your heart rate is one of those ways we do that. Number 5 has a complex chemistry. We know this is metabolism, or all living things obtain and use energy. That's metabolism, or this chemistry idea in all living things. And number 6, all living things are made of cells. Another easy method to use for recognizing if something is alive or not is this idea of graced. You'll notice 6 characteristics here. We have 6 things here. So all living things grow and develop. All living things reproduce. All living things adapt to their environment. This also includes the homeostasis, so they're responding to stimuli. This is also one of those where we kind of lumped some together here. All living things are made of cells. All living things get and use energy. That's the metabolism or the complex chemistry. And all living things pass on their genes through DNA or heredity. All right. So what does it mean to respond to the environment? All living things detect changes in their environment and respond to them. What happens if you step on a rock? Nothing. The rock doesn't respond because it isn't alive. But what if you think you are stepping on a rock and actually step on a turtle shell? The turtle is likely to respond by moving. It may even snap at you. Growth and development. All living things grow and develop. For example, a plant seed may look like a lifeless pebble, but under the right conditions, it will grow and develop into a plant. Animals also grow and develop. Look at the animals in the figure below. How will the tadpoles change as they grow and develop into adult frogs? We see a tadpole, and after it grows and develops, it becomes a frog. Reproduction. All living things are capable of reproduction. Reproduction is the process by which living things give rise to offspring. Reproducing may be as simple as a single cell dividing to form 2 daughter cells. Generally, however, it is much more complicated. Nonetheless, whether a living thing is a huge whale or a microscopic bacterium, it is capable of reproduction. Without this idea of reproduction, a species would go extinct. And many have, because they weren't able to reproduce. All living things are able to maintain a more or less constant internal environment. They keep things relatively stable on the inside regardless of the conditions around them. The process of maintaining a stable internal environment is called homeostasis. Human beings, for example, maintain a stable internal body temperature. If you go outside when the air temperature is below freezing, your body doesn't freeze. Instead, by shivering and other means, it maintains a stable internal temperature. Likewise, if you go out and it's very, very warm, your body will keep itself at a constant temperature by sweating. Complex chemistry. All living things, even the simplest life forms, have a very complex chemistry. In fact, so complex, we can't reproduce it in a lab anywhere. Living things consist of large, complex molecules, and they also undergo many complicated chemical changes to stay alive. thousands or more of these chemical reactions occur in each cell at any given moment. We're talking about millions of chemical reactions every second in every cell. Metabolism is the accumulated total of all the biochemical reactions occurring in a cell organism. By the way, biochemical just is life chemistry. Complex chemistry is needed to carry out all the functions of life. Cells. All forms of life are built of at least one cell. A cell is the basic unit of structure and function of living things. You're going to hear that a lot this chapter. Living things may appear very different from one another on the outside, but their cells are very similar. Compare the human cells on the left in the figure below and onion cells on the right in the figure below. How are they similar? Human cells on the left, onion cells on the right. If you looked at cells under the microscope, this is what you might see. We see they have some different shapes, but they have some general characteristics that are the same. We have a definitive edge with something looks like an egg yolk in the middle. We see that same thing here. These are a little more straight-edged, but we still see that little thing in the middle. We'll find out what that is later. Watch this video to look at some of the characteristics of life. In summary, all living things detect changes in their environment and respond to them. All living things can grow and develop. All living things are capable of reproduction, the process by which things give rise to offspring. All living things are able to maintain a constant internal environment through homeostasis. All living things have a complex chemistry or metabolism, and all forms of life are built of cells, and cell is the basic unit of structure and function. As always, thanks for listening.